Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Hair Healer Podcast. I hope everyone had a fabulous week. I am here with my friend, Jacque, I'm going to try to say it, Maldonado.
You did well.
Did I do well? I was nervous, but I'm just going to try it.
Yeah.
And she is the creator and owner of the Prana House in Westchester. What's the address?
109 North Church Street.
Nice. I love that. Now, one of the reasons why I brought her on, and I don't even know if you know this, years ago, well, I grew up Catholic, but maybe like 7 years ago, I really started to get into spirituality, right? And I started to learn the laws of the universe, but I had never done a class. I didn't know anything about crystals. I didn't know anything. And I attended at the Prana House, I think right when it opened, one of the first guided meditations for the crown chakra.
Oh, really cool.
It was so cool. And it was like, I remember being in this community and we all sat in the circle and I was like, and I used to attend 12-step fellowship. So I was used to that motto and we were just like sharing, like, I remember I wanted to be like, oh, I'm Colleen, I'm an addict, whatever. Because everyone was like, I'm so-and-so and I'm here for this. And it was like, oh my God, this is like this community I always wanted. And before that, I'd been given crystals, but I bought my first crystals actually from the Prana House.
I remember you. I remember you coming in as a customer, and I remember one of the first times I got to speak to you. So I think it's been great to see your evolution and your change, and now running your own podcast and everything that you've done with your business. It's been really amazing to see you're blossoming.
Thank you. I actually wasn't sure if you remember me or not. I mean,
Absolutely.
I look much different. I just had my kids, so I was like 70 pounds heavier.
You do look different, but you look fabulous. So
good
for you.
You look amazing.
Thank you.
So what's the story behind the Prana House? What made you open the Prana House?
So the Prana House is an evolution of a lot of different ideas, I feel like. And really when I've actually had the time this year to really reflect on all the different variables that have created this path and journey for my life. And I was very lucky and very fortunate to grow up in a household where wellness was a very big part of our household.
Oh, cool.
And herbal medicine, or at least kitchen remedies, was a big part of our household because one, that's just culturally, that's what in my culture. So my mother's from Guatemala and my father's from Mexico.
Okay.
So I grew up with my mother for the most part and my aunts in California.
In California?
In California.
Where in California?
Yeah. So in a town called Lomita, which was right near Torrance or Redondo Beach, Long Beach area, South Bay.
Yep.
And it's just funny because I reflect now, and everything that's a fad now, like juicing and, hiking even, right?
Yeah.
I feel like hiking is even a trend now, especially after, COVID.
Yeah, right.
So all those things are things that I experienced growing up. But just like most children, right, when we see something or we grow up with something, we're like, no, I want to do the complete opposite. And you can kind of going into my own type of way of life, I guess, and abandoning those ideas.
So you kind of abandoned wellness altogether and was just like, it's weird.
Exactly. Like I'm the weird kid and I don't want to be the weird kid. And then we moved to Pennsylvania. So that really created a very big shift in my life and a challenge and a change because we moved out here when I was in high school. So
From California,
yeah.
What a difference to PA.
It was a huge culture shock. It was a major culture shock, and especially the school that I landed in. So I ended up landing in Lower Merion High School.
That's where my salon was, where I worked all the time. You end up my God, to Lower Merion.
From California to Lower Merion High School. So if you know Lower Merion, if you're local, it's a major culture shock.
Wow.
And so it was really
Did you like it or no?
I did. After a while, I did. I hated it in the beginning. My mission and my goal was actually to try to graduate early so I could go back home is what, I wanted to do. And things happen. You meet a boy, and
it sounds like all my. That's actually meeting Matt was how I ended up saying here I was going to go back. So,
really? Yeah.
So you met a boy like 18, high school.
Met a boy at 15 actually,
wow.
And we were together for 13 years, and in that time frame, going through our own evolution and change, and coming back to a lot of the holistic methods that I had learned when I was growing up. And incorporating some of my own and learning new things too along the way.
Now, when you did that though, were you in like a moment? Like what made you like, oh, I actually need to bring this back into my life?
It was an accumulation of things, especially during college, putting myself through college and just feeling the way that I was taking care of my body. Yeah. It wasn't great. We all go through that time period in our 20s usually where we're drinking too much and partying a little bit too hard and all that stuff and scrambling for everything else in life, right? And so it became a really big thing where it's like, no, I know these methods of to try to create healing and wellness in my own life. So let's start to incorporate some of these things. And I was going through a depression type period, and I always wanted to own my own business. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And I always kind of went back and forth as to what kind of business I wanted to do. And really at the time of getting pregnant with my son, my decision was that I wanted to raise my son in the most holistic way. I had been a vegetarian already for about 5 years, did the whole, trying to be vegan and all of that, and just trying to repair some of the damage that I had done to my body. Yeah. And, during that pregnancy, it was just like this idea of Prana House came about.
Well, you're pregnant.
Yeah, while I was pregnant.
Did the name come about too?
The name came about probably a little bit afterwards.
Okay.
So there was kind of this moment about a year where that seed was really being planted, and how it was going to be planted, and what the evolution of all of it was going to look like. And for the beginning of it, it was really a co-collaboration with my ex-husband and I. And then when we separated, it kind of became my baby, and they went off and did their own thing.
Okay.
And yeah, it just kind of started going from there. So I started looking at different certifications to, one of my teachers tells me they're puppy papers, right? So
what's that mean?
It's puppy papers, meaning certifications that you present to the world to say that I have the knowledge in this, right?
I just got a couple. Yes. Yeah. I like that because I always feel weird getting them, because it's like I've practiced and studied this, but some people that aren't like you and I, they want to see that stuff.
They want to know that you're actually,
papers.
Yes, exactly. And so going through those puppy paper process, just relearning everything. And then I went through this 8-month yoga teacher training.
Oh, wow.
It was 8 months.
Oh my God.
It was the most life-changing thing that I have ever done, because the idea of Prana House was to start it years later. And I go through this 8-month yoga teacher training as I'm starting to just, make herbal remedies and give them to friends and family, just to have them try out and see if they like it, see if the stuff works for them. And through this evolution of this yoga teacher training, it was just like, no, like we're moving away from corporate America. This is my destiny. Like, this is what I need to do. This is what I'm unpacking and uncovering about myself. Then I'm just going to go for it. And it really was the stepping stone for all of that. Yeah. I went on a trip to Africa. And
before the prana, after the...
So during the teacher training.
Okay.
So during the teacher training, we had to do a fundraiser, which is in yoga, it's called seva. So it's like your way to give back, right? It's your community service that you're doing. And so through that fundraiser, it was to be able to go to Africa, to a town, and be able to help support and build a elementary school for these kids. And when I went there, it was just like this big light bulb that was like, this is your moment. I mean, coming out there, going out there and having the experience that I did was just like, you have so much opportunity. Go home, quit your job, and start this thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's literally what I did. I came back from Africa, put in my 2 weeks notice the second I got back to work, and transitioned out and started my journey.
And so how long after that did it launch? Did
the
Prana House launch?
So the physical building launched about a year later. So I started doing a lot more pop-ups and things like that around the area. Started to talk to different stores and where they could consign some of my products, and they did. And just by chance, I was looking online, and I tell this story pretty frequently. I think some people know this story, that I was looking online and I see this house in Westchester, and I sent it to my mom, and I'm like, this is my dream. Like, this is what I want. And a year goes by that I don't move forward in even looking in that area for a physical building. Cause I said, I'm going to build momentum. I'm going to try to work and do these pop-ups and all that kind of stuff and go from there. And then an opportunity hit where I could come into Westchester and just look for buildings, just to see what was available, see what it would entail for me.
Were you really feeling Westchester? Was that your original
it was always around there. Originally, it was actually on the main line that I was thinking about, because I lived there. Yeah. So, but then after my divorce, my separation, I moved back out here, where I had originally lived out here during college for a little while. And Westchester was one of those areas where I'm just like, felt drawn to. And when I saw that house, felt even more drawn to Westchester. Yeah. So I go to the realtor, and the realtor is taking me to like 6 different locations, and none of them. I'm like, I go in, instantly know that it's not the one. And they're like, we just purchased a house actually that might actually be really good for you. And they take me to that house.
Where
Prana is right now.
Oh my God.
To that building where Prana is right now.
And you walked in and
I
you
walked
knew?
in and I just knew. And I was like, this is it. I'm like, how do we get this started? And from there, we opened our doors the Black Friday weekend of 2014. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it'll be 5 years physically in Westchester this November.
I was first there, like, I think the beginning of 2015, the end of 2014, right there. Oh my God. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh my God.
It's so Prana itself is 7. Because I started 2 years prior and doing, again, the puppy papers, right, of all of that, making it official. But if I'm really looking at all of it, it really was, 10 to 20-year journey.
And how did you get from, because you make it sound so simple, and it really is, a lot of it's probably mindset, and you know that it's going to happen, but how did you get from like, okay, I'm just going to do this to opening it?
You just take the leap. It's like being at the edge of the cliff and you're just like, I have this idea. The practical things is honestly a business plan. Like I put together a business plan. You start to do your research. You research your market. You get really clear as to what you want to do, what intentions you have in putting out into the world. So it's not just, I'm going to do this, right? There's a lot of variables that are involved. There's definitely a lot of that stress and anxiety that's involved. I mean, I had moments where that negative self-talk takes over and it's like, who am I to think that I'm capable of doing something like this? Because I'd never done anything like this before. But at the same time too, I've been working in telecommunications for about 10 to 11 years and I was a manager there. So I knew what it consisted to run retail. I knew what it consisted to kind of manage places like that, especially with, retail's products. So but then also incorporating in making sure that I created a very conscious and very clear business and making sure that we were very open and transparent with all the ingredients, making sure that we were supporting the local community, making sure that the products and the artisans that I brought in were local, having relationships with them, building those things, because I was craving community. Yeah. So that's really what it is. I felt very isolated after my separation and my divorce. And one of those things for Prana House was like, I want to build community. I want to build a sanctuary for people that are feeling alone, that feel that they're not understood, because during my whole life, right, I felt like I wasn't really understood because as a child, I was interested in different things. Yeah. And especially interested in Wicca and spirituality, like Buddhism and Hinduism and all of those things that I was very curious about. And I was practicing on my own. And luckily enough, I had teachers along the way that would show me a little bit more. But I didn't have that community. Yeah. And so I was craving it. And Prana was like, well, if I'm craving it, I'm sure there's other people that are craving something like that. And then also the educational piece, because along the way too, finding people that were misrepresenting or misinforming people as to what these things actually were and how to work with them, or putting too much of the fluff and the love and light behind it. And it's just like, there's two pieces of all of that. There's a lot more. There's unlimited amount of things behind all of it, right? Yeah. So how can I be a place where people can also get that education and understand that we are just like the gateway? Like, here's the information. Here's the way that we can present it to you. And then you go off and do your work and, do all the things that really mean something to you. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So it's been quite a journey.
That's been quite a journey. So oh my God. So how was it? How's the years been? How have you been riding that single motherhood, taking care of kids, doing it and helping a whole community? I've heard amazing. I've even had clients, I remember years ago, right after I met you, having a client that wasn't even mine talking about going there and getting her, because her kids, she liked a more holistic approach and getting herbs and everything like that. So how do you do it?
I mean, it's been really amazing. I'm very thankful for the support system that I have. Yeah. My mom has been really that person.
So she stayed here. She never went back to
California. She has really been.
Does she hate it or love it here?
She loves it here. So she's the reason a lot of it. The reason why I stayed. Yeah. But my mom also went through a lot of health issues. Okay. So this is a part that I missed. That was also a very big impact in my life. Was my mom had a lot of mysterious illnesses during high school. So actually,
when you were in high school.
So when we moved out here, within 6 months, my mom contracted this life-threatening disease.
Oh my God.
And so my sophomore year of high school, I was basically in the hospital for an entire year with her. That was my high school experience, the second year in and second year of living here. And I just remember seeing a cabinet full of pharmaceutical medication just literally a kitchen cabinet full of pharmaceutical stuff. And she had about 15 doctors on her case, and no one knew what was wrong with her. And so she's really the reason why I went back to a lot of the wellness stuff, I think. Thinking about it, and, college was for me, but high school was really about how can I help others so they don't go through this similar situation.
Wow. Did she end up treating herself with wellness, changing?
So partial. So we really, at home, we really took care of her in the way that we knew how to take care of her. And, she tried to go with the path with a lot of the doctors, but sometimes she would just be like, no, like that's not the way that, I want to heal myself. And then finally it was one doctor that actually found out what was going on with her. And once they targeted what it was, they were able to support her a little bit more.
Okay.
But just the trial and error thing that just caused more debilitation for her body, for her mind, for her soul, everything. It's not just being sick and going through the physical components.
Yeah.
There's so much more behind that.
So much more.
And so, that was the road. And so she's been a major support system, and she's had to deal with these things. She's a kidney transplant survivor. So actually that was another thing during my separation and my divorce. She got sick again.
Oh my goodness.
So she goes back into the hospital, and this is when she's dealing with renal failure and all of this stuff. And it was just like, this is the time. Like, I need to be here to support her. So I was her primary caretaker.
Yeah.
And then that just became an even bigger evolution of Prana House. So she's number one. My friends, I have a very, very amazing group of core friends that just supported me. And I would do, my breakdowns and everything happen with them because I needed it, right? Because I was being a support person for my mom, going through this divorce, and finding myself all at the same time. But I knew that my salvation was going to be on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And to be able to grow into what I knew was going to be my future.
And is that how are you able to stay in those hard times, right? And float above? What do you say to yourself? What do you do? Just remind yourself. Sometimes for me, I just remind myself, you're going to get to that other end.
So journaling is
Love
a big
it.
thing for me. I've been writing in books and writing poetry since I was in middle school, basically. Just personal stuff and kind of going through that. Meditation, yoga, meditation. Those are some very, very big components of really just cutting the chatter and coming back to what is the real purpose. Everything else is just in the way a lot of times. And then sometimes when we have those monkey mind thoughts and we're able to just write them down in black and white, and we get to see what the truth is and what's the false ideas in our head, right? We can kind of move from there and kind of work out something to kind of move forward. And, just wanting to also show my son that we can really do what we set our minds to. And that things are going to be difficult. Things are not going to be handed to you very easily, but when you work in it, and you believe in it, you can go very far.
Wow.
So,
wow. Thank you for that reminder. I feel like you told me just in that doing this, I need that reminder. Yeah. And how lucky is your son to see that and watch that?
Well, he is lucky.
Yeah. Are you raising him holistically? And
yes, we as much as possible. I mean, he's 10 years old and we live in America.
So I want to know, what does he fight for? What does he want? Candy?
Candy. He fights for, chips and stuff. So I try to get the, healthier version, quote unquote, right? And then it's the phones, really. It's the video games. I think that's the big thing.
My older one's addicted to video games already, Fortnite.
Yeah, it's the big thing. And then I try to also put myself in his shoes, and I'm like, well, when I was his age, for me, it was Super Mario Brothers, you know, and Nintendo. And I mean, we did that. I remember doing that until the sun came up. So it's just like, that's also a part of his journey too. And what I can do as his parent is at least give him that balance. And I'm very fortunate too, and he's very fortunate too, that his dad also follows a very similar mindset.
Oh, that's
so
good.
Even when we're not together, he's at his dad's house and he's following a very similar path.
That's really
good. But we understand that there will be a time where he might reject it all. Same as we did, right? And go on his own journey. And hopefully just from that reminder of what he did learn when he was younger, maybe he'll incorporate some of those things as he grows older. So,
Absolutely. And again, a good reminder that our children have their own will and their own path, and how to learn not to interfere or overparent.
exactly. Not to put your ideas and philosophies as much as, possible into them. Like, they are going to form their own opinions and their own ideas and philosophies about things. So, yeah. Yeah, I know.
So crazy. And he's 10, right?
He's 10. Yeah. He's going to be 11 in January. And
What day?
January 12th.
So Capricorn.
Yeah.
Abram's January 22nd.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God,
yeah.
I was a teen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And right now I'm just waiting for that switch. I could see it.
It's going back and forth. Now, you had, and I want to talk about this, you had opened, right, a wellness studio.
Yep.
So where did that idea come? And let's talk COVID, all of it.
So the idea of Prana House was always to be an all-in-one.
Yeah.
So all to have, the products available for people to create their own personal rituals, to create their own personal products for wellness and healing, and also to have that community space where people can come together, like the class that you attended, right? But have an all-in-one facility. And for a while there, we thought we were going to get the entire building, but with coding and restrictions and all of this kind of stuff, we could not make that second floor of the building that we are in now a center. So that idea was supposed to come about a year after I opened up the retail shop, and then we got knocked down. So in that transition, I actually...
Is that an apartment above there?
Yeah, it's an apartment now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an apartment now. When it used to be the old business, they actually did use it as a part of their business, but because I wanted to bring people up there, there's a different levels of coding that are involved. Yeah, it's very weird. So kind of put that on a back burner. A lot of different transitions were also happening with Prana House. And finally, this opportunity for this building came up because someone that I know knew that was the idea for Prana House. And they were like, well, I know that you can't have it in all-in-one, or maybe you can, but would you want to, use the space as your center? And the idea of creating a nonprofit was also a part of what I wanted to do. I wanted the retail side to be the for-profit part of the business, but then the community stuff I wanted to transition to be more of the partial nonprofit, to be able to support not only the practitioners that were offering their services, but also supporting other members of the community as well. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, this is a great time to be able to do that. And so I fundraised and reached out to the community, and I was like, hey, we want to make this partial nonprofit center. Would you support us in this mission? And people donated. I had businesses and individuals like donating to the cause because they want this. They wanted it for the community. And so we did create it. It was actually created in May of last year. 2019 was the day that we pretty much launched it to the public. And then COVID hit. We hadn't even reached we were about to have our 1-year anniversary in that space. And in March, we had our last class, and then that was it. We didn't go back in there. And we were just waiting. We were waiting to see, are we going to be able to come back and all of that. We transitioned everything to virtual platform, and we did all the things that we could do. Yeah. But it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense to hold on to a building because, bills are still due. Yeah. Bills are still due, and it's a building that's sitting there that's empty. And if this is a partial nonprofit, that's money that's going towards something that is being wasted, where you can redirect that income to a completely different cause. So the decision was to close it down, which we closed it down on August 1st. Okay.
Did you reopen a little bit in the summer, or no, you just didn't?
No, we just kept it closed and we were still open because we were doing virtual events. Yeah. And then we were like, okay, well, when they gave us the go ahead in July to kind of reopen, I just had a very candid conversation with all the practitioners and trying to get their feedback as to what they wanted. And a lot of them were like, well, we're personally not even feeling safe to go back and do things one-on-one with individuals or hold group classes, and especially for yoga, right? So I was like, okay, well, we'll transition to virtual and we'll do things outdoors. We'll let this go. And hopefully when the new year comes, maybe we find an all-in-one building, right? Okay, redirect the dream, redirect the ideas.
How'd you feel? How was that? Did you feel power? Were you pretty accepting right away of having to let go of the building, or?
I'm going to say that my guides, right? Yeah. My guides were telling me in May that this was going to be a very big possibility. They're like, just kind of prepare yourself because this this might happen. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
But the logical part, I guess, of our brain sometimes wants to contradict what we intuitively know or what messages we receive from our guides.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to wait a couple more months to see how things do go and have facts behind my decision.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel heartbroken about it. It was a little bittersweet.
Yeah.
But I knew that Prana wasn't done. It was just, like Prana's still here. The retail store was still there.
Yeah.
We were still doing events. The only thing missing was the 4 walls of that space.
Yeah.
And those 4 walls will come about again in a very different
will.
way. So it wasn't really a loss. It
Yeah.
was more like this needed to be let go of so that we could support our community in a very different way, but still with the intent of creating that community with that healing and wellness for body, mind, and soul for everybody. So, yeah.
Wow. You know how to trust the path.
You kind of have to.
You do.
Yeah, you have to, because, you learn along the way that no matter how many mistakes you make, no matter how many challenges you face, there's always something new that comes about. And when we learn to think outside the box, or we learn to not put ourselves in the box, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunities that then open up for you in almost a seamless way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just accepting and letting it flow.
Yeah, exactly. Because, stuff's always going to happen. It always is. That's the guarantee of life is challenges are always going to come about. It's how you
expect the unexpected.
Exactly. It's how you move through those challenges that really determine how your outcome's going to be.
Yeah, that's why I actually try to tell people, like, we're in Mercury retrograde right now, not while you're listening to this episode, but right now we are. And I enjoy it in a weird, not sick way, but I enjoy it because that is really how it teaches you, because so many during Mercury retrograde, the craziest shit comes out of nowhere, to expect the unexpected. And that's really, and how to go with plan A, B, and C, and D. And that I feel like during that time that really learns and allows. And that way we know that we're always aligned.
Yes, absolutely. And I follow the rhythms of working with the planet, right?
Yes.
So I work with the seasons. I work with, just feeling the rhythms of what's going on in our world. And when we really start to align ourselves with those rhythms, we get hints. We get hints from nature. We get hints from the world that is surrounding us that, the energy is moving in a different kind of way. And so by being able to glimpse those energy shifts, we can kind of prepare ourselves for where we're going to go next, or what may be coming from a challenge perspective.
Wow.
And see how we're going to work through that.
Yes.
Right. So, nature gives us so many clues all the time. And when we work with those rhythms of it, it's like a roadmap.
It's a roadmap. And what about because you're an herbalist, is that the right word? Herbalist, right? Mm-hmm. When we ingest nature, right? That even aligns us more?
Oh, yeah. Physically, mentally, emotionally. I mean, it's just adding more things into our body that will help support us and be able to handle the stress that we undergo.
Yeah.
And give us a new perspective because there's so many ways that we can use herbs, and people will use them for physical and wellness purposes. Some people will use them for spiritual purposes, magical purposes, right? Some people will use it just frivolously, thinking, I'm just using it for good beauty care, not knowing that is actually doing something internally for them too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's your favorite season?
I think that's a loaded question.
That's a loaded question, right? Each one brings a different.
Yes, every season brings a different perspective. Every season also brings a different emotion and purpose behind it.
Yeah.
So I feel like the ones that I thrive the most in is definitely summer and fall.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of my work and a lot of the work that I've been doing in my life tends to flourish in the summer and the fall.
Yeah.
And which, makes sense because that's the harvest season, right?
Yeah.
It's the first, second, and third harvest of our year. And so all those things that we're working on during the winter time, all those things that we're doing in incubation, right? Which sometimes can drive us crazy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But that's the hard part, right? Because what I find is that for everything that we want in life, there's a certain sacrifice that we have to make for it. So that transition, that moment in time in the winter and in the spring even, those are our sacrifices that we are, having to do before we actually see what the fruits of our labor are during the harvest time. And so I really like summer and fall for that because I feel like a lot of stuff gets cleared out.
Yeah.
Right. I have like this new perspective, like there's losses that happen during the summer and the fall a lot of times and for me, for my path, I see the trend that summer and fall are the big things. things.
Yeah.
A lot of things that I let go of, but then there's so much that I'm bringing in.
So much. That's the way energy works. We move, something new comes in.
Exactly.
And I love winter. I think I love every season, but I'm over it the last 3 weeks of every season.
Yeah.
But winter, I love to just go inward, be there, but I'm done going inward about February 15th. No more. I've seen enough. I've done enough. But you're right. And then it's like we reemerge, and I actually don't love spring until April.
Yeah.
We reemerge into these new, to the butterfly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because February 15th is my birthday weekend. I'm actually
Shut
February
up.
17th is my birthday. Yeah. So I feel you.
Aquarius. What? I did not, and I picked it. I picked your birthday weekend.
Yeah, I feel you.
This episode actually might be out on your birthday weekend. You might
really?
be listening.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So big things are coming for Jackie. Happy birthday on her birthday weekend.
Thank you.
What do you feel is in the air for wintertime this year?
I think for winter, it's really just planning. It's a lot of planning for winter for right now. It's a lot of just fine tuning. Also, all the things that we've been creating in the summer and in the fall, right? So fine tuning all of those new things, making sure that they're all working correctly, what is working, what's not working, and just kind of making those decisions so that we can start to unclutter what we've created clutter in, right? And then, but also planning for the new year. So, We'll see what turn Prana takes. I mean, obviously right now, a lot of it is based on the state of our world from a business perspective as to what direction we're going to go into. But, we're always going to be here. We're going to support people as best as we can. And I hope that that's for years to come. So.
And big things are coming.
Yeah.
Big things are coming.
Oh, they are. And I feel that. And, there's some things that are brewing. Let's just see if those potions take.
They will take. They will take 110%.
Thank you.
I can't wait to listen back to this episode a year from now and be like, see those potions? They're coming out. They're coming big. What do you think the rest of the world, what do you think we can expect collectively in winter?
I think we are still for me personally, I feel for us as a community and as a society, it's really just about still doing the internal work individually.
Yeah.
Right? Going through that evolutionary process within ourselves to be able to make a greater impact as a collective, right?
Yeah.
Because when we all have the opportunity, or we all give ourselves the opportunity, because a lot of times, sometimes people shy away from that opportunity because it can be tough, right? It can be tough to really look inward and do the work that we need to do. But even if it's just taking one step of acknowledgement, you're already creating change for a world that you want to see in your lifetime.
Yeah.
So I think that's where our winter is going to be, is everyone continue to do your work.
Yes, we got one last, I feel like before we reemerge into the new world, we got, we got the dark winter. What do they call it on Game of Thrones?
Oh, I don't know.
Something like the dark winter. I can't remember.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
Winter's coming, yeah.
I actually only watched I watched the 5th season, I think, first with someone I was dating, and then I rewatched the first season. That's all I've watched of all of it. But I think I got the point.
Yeah.
I
tried. I really did. And I thought that I would like it.
Long.
But it's long. It's a lot.
It's a lot of attention. It's a lot of... Now, what was the hardest thing you've ever had to change about yourself? Or change in yourself? Pattern, thoughts?
That's a good question.
That's what came to me as you were talking about awareness and...
You know what? Maybe criticism.
Self-criticism, giving it to others, both?
I think all of it.
Yeah.
Just criticism in general. Are you
a Virgo rising?
No, I'm a Pisces rising, actually.
So you're Aquarius and a Pisces rising.
Yeah, I'm an Aries moon, Pisces rising. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I think, what it really was? It was during one of my internships when I was in college. And, I always I was one of the perfectionist type people always when I was growing up and, in school and all of that, trying to not, rock the boat too much. But then in my first internship job through Drexel, I met this guy who said, you have to learn how to take constructive criticism. It's not an attack on you personally. It's just to let you know how you can improve to be the best version of yourself.
Wow.
Right? And I took that as okay, yeah, we shouldn't take a lot of things so personally, because sometimes, again, also reflecting on other people, we don't know what they're going through.
We don't.
Right? So we can listen, we can acknowledge, and we can choose within ourselves to say, yeah, that's something that I feel like I need to work on, or no, it's not something that I need to work on. But how open are we to take that constructive criticism? So I think that's one of it.
So you had to learn that. And so how have you been? How'd you learn to do it? Just kept
striving for it, and also not having a immediate response or rebuttal, right? Yep. Or allowing for that emotion to take over and me react in anger, as like, what do you mean? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, that talk that we do. And it's just sitting back and saying, do I really do that? Or how could I have made that situation better? Yeah. Right. Or does that sound like truth to me? Right. Yeah. And sometimes we know what our truths are. Yeah. Right. But sometimes we just want to avoid them. Yes. So it's really a lot of self-reflection and self-unpacking that's involved in that, because it's not just, oh, okay, I'm going to take constructive criticism now. No problem. Right. No, there's a lot of that work and internal self-reflection of, where can I give a little bit more, and where can I learn to adapt a little bit more? Yeah. Or where do I not have to give? Yeah. Right? Because that's a big factor too. It's like, where am I giving too much of myself and overstressing and putting energy into something that in the long run really doesn't matter? Yeah. Right? Why did that affect me so much? Yeah. And in the grand scheme of things, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Yeah. That's around most of the time it's not. What is that quote? If you're not going to think about it, if it's not going to matter 5 years, 5 months, and it doesn't. Right. I think back at stuff I thought mattered so much, and it's so silly now. Right. Exactly. And so that's a part of criticism, right? Yeah. It's all a part of criticism, because at the end of the day, we do want to be liked. I don't care who you are. We do want to be accepted. We do want to be liked. We want to be included, right, in some way, shape, or form. And I guess that might come from my idea of when I was younger, not feeling as included in certain times, or accepted in certain times. But yeah, it's a work in progress. When you said accepting criticism, my body went to that. I could feel that instant response. I'm good at accepting it now. I really am. But I do this like thing where I just like, when I hear it, like I tense up in almost in a funny way, like, okay, Colleen, that's just the ego. The ego hurts. You don't hurt. The soul doesn't hurt. The ego hurts, and just fucking listen. Yeah, exactly. Because that's how you're going to improve. Yeah. And because it's like, sometimes when you hear it, it's not a direct attack on you as an individual. It's just, hey, like maybe this could be better, or that person is also telling you what they're feeling like. Yes. Right. So sometimes it's not even about you. Yeah. It can be about them completely. Yeah. So it's a ride. Right now, I can tell you I'm grateful for every corrective criticism I've ever had, whether I was in the moment or not. Like, sometimes people say it and then you think about it 2 weeks later, it hits you and like, yeah, it's a seed that's planted. It's a seed that's planted. Yeah. Absolutely. It was hard, and maybe the same for you with the Prana House. When I started the Hair Healer brand, the Hair Healer podcast especially, it was like very hard to kind of hear, because I was actually more scared to put it out there to hear the correct, because it was such a it's like was my first real creative baby project, and I was like, I don't want anyone, but it's important. I need to hear it to get better. Yeah, absolutely. You go through all of it, and same. It was just, am I doing this right? Like, I hopefully people like me and will shop with me, and I don't fail at all this, and blah, 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 like all that negative everything. Yep. And then people start to give you ideas that actually, when you look at it, is helpful. And you just learn. And you're right. Like, they're in the beginning, sometimes there are definitely people that will critique you in a way that isn't even representative of you, but representative of them and their negative self-talk. So sometimes you also have to learn where not to listen to the constructive criticism that people give you, and understand that this is what you believe in. And if you believe in it strongly and you trust in that vision and that dream, who cares what anyone thinks? Yes. Right? This is where you want to go, even if it's something super beyond weird, right? Yeah. But it makes you happy. Yeah. Do it. Because what else is there? There's nothing else. That's what is happiness, right? Right, exactly. Personal happiness and joy and feelings of fulfillment. Yeah. But that's hard. That's right? So hard. Because everyone would be doing it. Everyone would be doing it. It's interesting. Something that keeps coming up in my head is my astrology teacher at Chutabhava, Nightlight Astrology. He always says we have to accept, and that plays in with, the malefic planets, Saturn or Mars, right? That we are going to have stretches, or so we're going to have stretches of just not being happy. Yep. For no other reason, we are just not going to, and we're going to have stretches of being very happy. Yep, absolutely. The yin and the yang, and accepting that. Absolutely. We're constantly moving through different seasons and different changes within us as well. Yeah. So we can't expect to be constant all the time. And honestly, that would be boring, because we
So
would never
boring.
grow. We would never evolve. We would never experience certain things. And sometimes out of the biggest frustrations, out of the biggest losses, at least that's what I've learned, is the moments in time in my life where I thought that I couldn't go anymore, or the results on the other side had been beyond extraordinary.
Yeah.
So, take the leap.
What's the when you said that, what was your favorite? Like, not your favorite thing. When was the biggest leap? The Prana House? I think that's the question we're looking for.
I think the entire year of 2012 and 2013. I think it was a year kind of like this year now for all of us,
yes,
right?
Yes. I actually had that year in 2019. So 2020 has been pretty good. Everything was already broken. I experienced the horrible heartbreak, and now I'm like, I felt free. I'm doing whatever the fuck I want.
Right, exactly.
Whenever I want.
2012, 2013 was kind of that for me. It was the crumbling. We experienced the tower. In tarot cards, like the tower is the destruction, the ending of something to create something new, all over again. And so for me, I would say that's, besides, that moment in high school with my mom and experiencing that in high school, it was the separation that happened in the same year, my divorce, being a single mom, my mom getting sick all over again.
How old was your son?
My son was 2.5.
Okay,
when
wow,
all of this went down.
So were you just like have days on the ground crying, like?
Yeah, by myself.
Just your higher power?
Just, really praying. Prayer was essential. Again, meditation and going into my yoga practice. My yoga practice was, and my meditation, again, like salvation for me. It was really where I was able to reconnect with my entire being. And also seeing my son and wanting to have a better life where I'm happy, so that I could be a better mother for him. So that was a big thing. But all of 2012, all of 2013, learning all of that about myself was the biggest impact and the biggest, I guess, learning experience.
What'd you learn makes you happy? Then, now, how does it switch? Was it different things back then make you happy than now, or pretty much the same? What's your happiness?
I think it all changes. It all changes. Mm-hmm. I mean, right now my happiness is the fact that I've gotten to the point that I've gotten to. Right? Yeah. To know that Prana has evolved in the way that it has.
Amazing.
The amount of people that I've met, I'm so humbled by that. I'm so humbled by the amount of people that continue to support Prana House, that come and they see us and they want to be a part of the community, and the people that I meet outside of the community. It's such a humbling thing, and it's a way that we can be together, and that we can also serve society in a very different way, and know that we are not alone. And I think that's a big thing. And seeing my son evolve, and being a single parent is very different. It's very different. I mean, we co-parent very, very well with my ex-husband. We co-parent very well. And, but there's moments in time where it's just you, right? So it's learning how to relearn that, and then also giving your kids a different experience. And that's my happy. That's my happy.
That's your happiness. Yes. That's where it is.
That's my happiness.
Oh, I love that. Does he come in? Does your son come into the Prana House?
He does. Sometimes you'll see him behind the cash register helping. He likes to give change and ring people up. That's his number one thing. Capricorn all the way.
Oh my God. Oh God. Yeah, of course. Keep it all. He's going to be coming in when he's 18, Mom, I have a new business plan for you. You should look this over.
Total Capricorn all the way. He's like, I'll worry about the money.
Jackie, did you say that it's Prana House or Piranha House?
Prana.
Prana, correct?
Prana. So I sometimes get that.
Correct?
No, so prana actually means life force.
Life force.
Oh.
Yep. So it's a Sanskrit word that means life force energy. And so the idea behind prana is that we all have a universal life force within us. We all have prana. And we can either have good prana or we can have bad prana. And the idea and intent behind Prana House is that we bring good prana to everybody that walks in through our doors, that hears about us, that, comes to workshops, or just knows. And so that they're looking to evolve that good prana within themselves. Body, mind, and soul.
Body, mind, and soul.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
What do you do for your body and mind, soul today? Over over COVID, how's that evolved, keeping yourself centered during this time?
So, strengthening my immune system is always number one.
What's the number one thing to strengthen your immune system?
So what I use, and it's something that I created actually when my son was 2. And because he was in daycare, and we know that daycare is a cesspool of germs. So, I was like, I want to strengthen his immune system so that he's not sick constantly in daycare, because we had to put him in daycare. And so I created this elixir called Be Well syrup. It's at my shop, which is a combination of like elderberries and astragalus and cinnamon and cloves and ginger and all these kinds of things with honey and apple cider vinegar. And I created that, and that's what we consistently over the past 10 years or 8 years have been taking. So
do you take it too?
Yep, I take it too. So I created it so it's good for ages 2 and up. So you take a shot of it per day as an adult.
How's
for
it
kids,
taste?
It's a little... it depends.
Just suck it up.
Yeah, just suck it up. It's a wellness shot. That's what I say. It's like you're drinking to your health, right? When again, those 20s, right? No problem knocking back those other shots.
Everclear, all that. I know.
Right? So it's like, what? We're taking a wellness shot now.
You got to tell me to suck it up when I wellness shot.
Yeah.
I'm like, I do, but just suck it up, Colleen.
Yeah. So, and then, you can add a little bit more honey to it. So the closest thing that people have said that it tastes like for them is like balsamic vinaigrette. That's
I love that. Yeah.
So you just take the shot of that, and you take it on a daily basis to try to strengthen your immune system. You start really, if you have a weakened immune system, you want to do it daily, repeatedly for about a year or 2. But if you are a person that pretty has like a good handle on your health and wellness, then maybe you start at the end of August, when we know that people are going to start to go into those high stressful times, high stressful environment. We start to get into a routine again. We're starting to go to school, and then you're taking it basically all the way through every single day until about the spring. And then the springtime, maybe you start to taper off, where you take it maybe 3 times per week versus every single day. And then through the summer, maybe once a week, to just have that maintenance.
What's it called again?
Be Well syrup.
Be Well syrup. Now, can they get it on your website?
Yep, you can get on my website at thepranahouse.com. You can come into the shop for it.
I'm coming in for it.
Yeah, it's one of our top sellers. You just keep it in the refrigerator, and we take it in the morning time before breakfast. My son and I now we just take shots, and sometimes my mom will join us, and we all just, hey, to your health. And
I love that.
Yeah, and that's what we do. And if you are feeling sick, or as soon as you feel that you're getting run down, you up your shot intake for a 24-hour period for every 4 to 6 hours.
Okay.
So then usually by the next day, you're feeling pretty normal again, or you just keep taking that shot. And I can still count on one hand how many times my son has been sick for more than a day.
Wow.
Since the age of 2.
Oh, well, I'm getting it. I'm coming in next week. I'm getting it.
It's really super supportive. It's, So, and then there's a lot of other things, right?
Yeah.
Like food and diet and exercise. Those are all those things. My yoga practice through COVID, breath work is another one, because we want to make sure that those lungs are healthy. We have a strong lung capacity, right? So even things of, those vocal coaches, how they do certain like hummings or like lip movements, even things like that, because then you can how far can you prolong your breath, right? Even if it's like buzzing, how long can you take a big breath and like hold your breath and let it go? If you have high blood pressure, though, you don't want to hold your breath, but you at least want to try to take a deep breath and very slowly do the exhale,
exhale.
And then very slowly do the inhale, right? Hold for maybe 30 seconds if you can, and then exhale, right? So it's just a lot of movement with breath also too. So there's a lot of different tools that you can try. It's just really finding the ones that are sustainable for you, but that you're consistent with them. I think that's the biggest thing, is consistency. In our society, we're always like looking for the next big shiny thing.
Yeah.
And it's like the next big shiny thing is great, but how long did you try the one thing first?
Yeah.
Right. And more often than not, we're like, I tried it for a week. And it's like, well, that's not going to do anything.
No,
for you.
no. I can sometimes do that with ADHD. I'm like, I forgot all about it. I'll do it in 2 months from now, pick it back up.
Right. And it's about consistency. So how can we be consistent in our practices and those rituals? And it can be difficult. Again, it's one of those things. If it was easy, everyone would do it. And those moments in time when we're feeling very lethargic, when we're feeling run down, when we're feeling emotionally down, maybe we don't want to do it, but those are the moments in time that are actually the most crucial that we're doing.
Yeah.
Because that's our body's like cue of saying something's wrong.
Yeah.
So you need to fix it ASAP.
ASAP. And it gets easier. It's worth it. It's just like emotional pain, physical, just get over the hump, just fucking do it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, Jackie, we're getting to the end of this episode. It's been I can't believe it's been almost 50 minutes we've been talking.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like we need to go another 5 hours. But I like to ask 3 questions at the very end, okay? We didn't get into much. We got into your teenage years, but we didn't get much into your childhood or what I think. But I like to ask this question. If you could go back to a time when little Jackie was the most alone, hurt, sad, whatever, what would you go back and say to her?
You're a badass.
Yes.
You're a badass.
I love that.
It's all good.
Everything about you, you're a badass. And look, you're a badass now.
Yeah, you're a warrior. Like we're warriors. I feel like, and that's not just me. I feel people. We are all warriors. We just need to know how to work with the fight that's internal.
Yeah, with that internal fight.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice anyone's ever given you?
I really think it was Mrs. Boyd. She was a social worker when I was 8 years old, and she would tell me to just be myself, right? That was just be yourself. And, 8 years old, it's what you struggle through. But now looking back on that advice that I heard from her at 8 and something that I carried with me.
You remember that at 8 years old?
Oh, I remember that because she was the tough mom of the block, but also she was a social worker. So she was the one that was really like, hey, very loving and very there for us. But at the same time, like, you guys have it good. Like, there's privilege that you have here. Yeah. Right. I remember for her kids, she used to do like scared straight stuff with them. She would take them into the middle of like East LA with like, she had to go pick up a kid that was in like the worst like situations to see how privileged they actually were. Wow. And it's not like we grew up with like a lot of money or anything like that. Like, all of us lived in a very, low income community. And, but it was just like, we are still fortunate, right? Yes. We're fortunate for our health and all of that. And then she's like, in all of this, be yourself, make good choices, do those things that be smart. And her impact in my life, I think, really helped me during those difficult times as I was growing up too. Because she was who I would go back to in my mind.
And you still do, it looks like.
And I still do, yeah. She was a very big person in my life at that time. And funny enough, I haven't spoken to her since California. So,
since California?
Yeah, I think they moved away and, how things go.
Maybe she listened. You never know. The universe is a weird way.
Exactly. But she was an amazing woman.
Wow.
I don't know. She might still be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. Now, what piece of advice do you want to leave for our listening audience?
Let's see. Trust in yourself and in the work that you're doing, and don't give up, right? Like, trust that every moment there is a new opportunity that is facing you. Yeah. Seize it
And just take it and run.
For those opportunities that are for the best part of your life, right? Because there's opportunities that can take us down the wrong path too. Yeah. So trust the ones that maybe bring you a little bit of fear. Yeah. Right? Bring you a little bit of fear, but also at the same time, a little bit of giddiness within you. Wow. Right? Because there is that emotion that comes up, like, like the butterflies in the stomach or that heavy beat in our heart, right? Yeah. Just that pitter patter that happens. And we're just like, our nervous system starts to like, really elevate, and we get this like little moment of excitement, even if it's just a small one. Seize it, because that's our body also, your intuition telling us like, that's the direction. Yeah. Listen.
Wow. That was beautiful. And I love how you just like worded in those undertones of emotions. That's exactly. Okay. So I'm going to follow that. When I feel that fear, that little excitement, I'm going to say, Jackie said, you better run, go for it.
That's the edge.
Run towards it.
That's the edge. That's the moment to leap off the cliff.
Leap. Wow. That's beautiful. Now, where can everyone find you? Tell me your website. Tell them where the store is located, Instagram.
So we're at thepranahouse.com at 109 North Church Street. If you want to come and visit us in person, we're open 7 days a week. You can find our hours right on our website. You can also follow us on Instagram at the Prana House WC. So, but those are our main channels, and on Facebook too, the Prana House. So it's pretty easy.
That's easy.
If you Google us, we will pop up.
You'll pop up. Now, are you guys doing any community classes yet?
Yep. So we're doing community classes all the time. It's all on our website. We're also doing
in person.
We're doing in person.
Oh, I'm coming.
We're doing in person, and we're doing virtual. So in person ones are outside. We actually created during COVID. We did like this sort of partnership with Natural Lands, which is they're the stewards of a lot of different preserves in the Chester County and outside of Chester County area.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so we wanted permission to be able to go onto a land to host these events and also make them donation based. So a portion of the proceeds goes not only to the practitioner, and sometimes all of it will actually be donated. So the practitioner will selflessly give up their portion to these organizations. So a portion will go to the partial nonprofit side of Prana House, which we then in turn support other people, or just, for the stuff that we need to support the nonprofit itself. Portion of it will go to Natural Lands, and sometimes it'll also support another organization like the Domestic Violence Center, the SPCA, Alianzas, which is a nonprofit organization in Phoenixville, which helps people that are immigrants that are just coming into this country with resources.
Amazing.
Yeah, and community. So,
wow.
Yeah,
you are going to go.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. You're going to go so far. I mean, I'm getting chills right now just thinking about and what I've seen you do for the community in Westchester, and just what I've known about you even from the beginning. Your intention has always been purely community and bringing people together, and you've always just come from a very loving spot, and that's going to take you so far.
Yeah, well, I think it's the power of all of us.
Yeah.
Right? It's like now I'm the space holder for this. Like I was the visionary. I was the person that brought this into the world. Now I'm just holding space for it. Yeah, that there's work in the background, but it's a lot of the people that are a part of Prana House that are doing a lot of that too, right? The different practitioners that are involved with us, the people that are supporting every single day in the shop, and every single person that comes and visits it and goes on the website, all of it, we all have a part to play in all of this. So it's quite a journey. It's an amazing ride, and I just hope that we can continue to serve in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And my tagline is for everyone to be well, and that everyone be blessed. So blessed be.
Aw. Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Jackie, for bringing this wisdom, everything. This was amazing.
Thank you for this opportunity. I've been watching your podcasts and listening to them, and it's been cool to see this grow.
Aw, thank you. Aw, this is amazing. Yeah. This was an amazing episode. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Please check out the Hair Healer Podcast Facebook page. Find me on Instagram at the Hair Healer 1111. If you have any questions, requests to be on the show, anything at all, please email me, thehairhealerpodcast@yahoo.com. Thank you, everyone. Have a fabulous week. Love you. Bye.
If you want to help support the Hair Healer Podcast, please visit patreon.com/hairhealer.
That was...